Some killers are meticulous. They plan every detail, cover every track, leave nothing to chance. Stacey Castor was not one of those killers. The Black Widow of upstate New York almost got away with murder. Twice. Not because she was clever, but because she was confident. Dangerously confident. This is the story of a woman who killed 2 husbands, tried to murder her own daughter, and left behind a trail of evidence that would ultimately tell investigators everything they needed to know. They just had to notice it first. It started in the year 2000 in a small town in upstate New York. Mike Wallace, a 38-year-old father of 2, died suddenly and unexpectedly. His wife, Stacey, told doctors he had a bad heart. The physician took one look and agreed, heart attack. No autopsy was performed. Mike's family had their doubts. They wanted answers. But legally, Stacey was the next of kin, and she said no. Case closed. Stacey collected a $50,000 insurance payout and moved on with her life. 5 years later, she married David Castor, a heating and air conditioning specialist known for his perfectionism and attention to detail. David was doing well until his father died. He fell into a depression and, according to Stacey, started drinking heavily. On one particular weekend in August 2005, Stacey called 911. David had locked himself in their bedroom and wouldn't come out. When deputies broke down the door, they found David sprawled naked on the bed, face down, his head pressed against the wall. There was vomit everywhere. On the nightstand sat 2 glasses, one half full of green liquid, another with residue at the bottom. David Castor was dead at 48 years old. Testing revealed the green liquid was antifreeze, specifically ethylene glycol, a deadly poison that shuts down the kidneys. To die this way is agonizing and can take hours, sometimes days. The autopsy confirmed David had ingested a lethal dose. Under the bed, a shotgun and a container of antifreeze. The death was ruled a suicide, but investigators had questions. If David wanted to kill himself and had a gun right there, why would he choose antifreeze? Why put himself through such torture? And the scene itself was bizarre. David was found completely naked, face down with his head jammed into the corner against the wall. This wasn't how people typically staged their own deaths. Then they found something unusual in the kitchen trash. A turkey baster, with traces of green liquid inside, and DNA on the tip, David's DNA. Let me repeat that. A turkey baster, with antifreeze residue, and only David's DNA on the tip. What kind of person commits suicide with a turkey baster? The answer, of course, is that David didn't. But someone wanted it to look that way. Someone who apparently thought a turkey baster was a believable suicide weapon. The forensics told an even clearer story. David's fingerprints were on the glass with alcohol residue, but only Stacey's fingerprints were on the glass containing antifreeze. If David had poured the poison himself, where were his prints? And then there was the antifreeze bottle on the floor. Vomit had dripped from the bed onto the floor beneath it. But there was vomit under the bottle, not on top of it, meaning the bottle was placed there after David was already sick and dying. Someone staged this scene. Someone clumsy. During the investigation, Stacey said something that made detectives' eyebrows raise. When asked if she knew what substance in antifreeze could kill someone, she immediately answered, ethylene glycol. Most people don't know that, unless you're a chemist or a true crime enthusiast. But Stacey did, off the top of her head. When investigators asked Stacey why David would choose poison for suicide, she had an explanation. She said he must have gotten the idea from a true crime show they'd been watching, one where a woman poisoned her husband with antifreeze. Wait a minute, poisoned her husband? With antifreeze? This was almost too on the nose for investigators. And why was Stacey continuously mispronouncing antifreeze as antifreeze? Investigators started connecting dots. Stacey's first husband, Mike Wallace, had died 5 years earlier with no autopsy. They petitioned to exhume his body. Here's the thing about ethylene glycol poisoning. It creates crystals in the body's organs, particularly the kidneys. And those crystals don't break down. They stay there, perfectly preserved, even years after death. When they opened Mike Wallace's casket and performed the autopsy, there they were, little gold speckles throughout his organs. The unmistakable signature of antifreeze poisoning. Stacey Castor had killed both husbands the exact same way. She'd gotten away with it once, pocketed the insurance money, and figured, why not do it again? With David Castor, she stood to gain close to $200,000 between insurance, the house, his business, and other assets. But just as prosecutors were preparing to arrest her, Stacey made one final, desperate move. Early one morning, police received a frantic phone call from the Castor residence. Stacey's daughter, Ashley, had been found unconscious in her bed. Next to her was a suicide note, an empty bottle of sleeping pills, and an empty bottle of vodka. In the note, Ashley confessed to killing both her father, Mike Wallace, and her stepfather, David Castor. She wrote that she'd put anti-free in Daddy's Gatorade and couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Yes, anti-free. The same bizarre mispronunciation that only Stacey had been using throughout the investigation. Unless illiteracy ran in the family, investigators knew this note was staged. If Ashley had died, the case could have been closed. At the very least, it would have seriously undermined the police's case against Stacey. But Ashley survived, barely. And when she woke up in the hospital, she had no memory of writing any note. All she remembered was having a drink with her mom before feeling extremely drowsy. Investigators seized the family computer and sent it to a forensic specialist. What he found was devastating to Stacey's defense. Microsoft Word has an autosave feature that creates hidden backup files with timestamps. The suicide note had been typed on Stacey's user account, not Ashley's, at 2:27 p.m. on a day when Ashley was at school. Stacey had literally typed her own confession, tried to murder her daughter to frame her, and left a digital trail that put her at the keyboard. The brazenness is stunning. The stupidity? Even more so. In 2009, Stacey Castor was convicted of murdering David Castor and attempting to murder her daughter, Ashley. She was sentenced to 51 years to life in prison. She maintained her innocence until her death in 2016, still insisting that Ashley had killed both men. The forensics told a different story, one written in crystals, fingerprints, misspelled words, and a turkey baster. A story of a woman so confident in her own deception that she couldn't see what everyone else would eventually notice. In the end, it wasn't brilliance that caught Stacey Castor. It was evidence. Lots and lots of evidence. And a touch of illiteracy. Thank you for watching. If you found this case as shocking as I did, please like and subscribe for more true crime content. What do you think? Was Stacey Castor evil, stupid, or both? Let me know in the comments below.